Let's start with some water, shall we? The irony of this episode title when this podcast episode is coming out considerably late because life just got hella busy and it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm having a bit of a test of my patience today. Nevertheless, I do have some very great tips and tools for you in this episode, and since you're a busy bee like me, I'm going to aim to keep this one short and sweet so that you can use your precious time on taking action. Welcome back to the Women's Empowerment Podcast. Thank you so much for choosing this show. It means a lot to me. These days, it feels like life is coming at me hard and fast, and with full transparency, it has not been easy. What I can vouch for is that there are certain habits and routines that really keep me grounded during these busy times, as well as specific priorities. Because when really I was putting this episode together, I recognized that it's the priorities of certain things that help me or allow me to juggle more without actually affecting my health or the quality of the work that I'm putting out, even if this is a little bit late. Oops. One of my personal values is health and wellness, and when life gets busy, this becomes my number one priority. Why? Because without optimal health, I am useless. I'm useless to the people around me, I'm not completing tasks, or I'm rushing, which leads to more mistakes, and then we're just doing twice the work with half the energy. I prioritize my health and well-being through different habits like a consistent sleep schedule. I know that for me personally, I need 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every single night. One of the key ways to get quality sleep is to go to bed and wake up around the same time every day. I aim to go to bed between 9:30 and 10:30 every night, hopefully on the earlier side if I can, and I actually wake up feeling more rested when I have a consistent sleep schedule, and that can really set the tone as well as the energy for the day. So this is huge. The other habit that is part of this priority or this routine that I prioritize is eating whole foods. I started eating breakfast again in the last couple years, and while breakfast looks a little different each day or even each week, I start the day with whole foods and a balanced meal, ideally something high in protein. Throughout the day, I choose snacks and meals that include greens and veggies and more protein, and foods that aren't in packages with a long list of ingredients as often as possible. The other thing I really try to do is stay hydrated. Currently sipping on some ice water. I'm usually more of a room temperature kind of gal. But lately, all I want is ice, ice, baby. And maybe that's because it's summer. I don't know. But if you're an avid listener to the show, you will know that I am obsessed with my Hydrate Spark water bottle because it has a Bluetooth scale. So I'm going to show you in this video here. It has this Bluetooth scale in it that lights up when I'm supposed to drink water, and I can just charge it when I need to. I've had this bottle for so long, and it's the only thing that actually helps me drink water. Now, the bottle is a little more on the expensive side because people are like, you paid what for a water bottle? But honestly, if you think about how many water bottles you've bought over the last year, you've probably paid the same or more for multiple bottles that have probably gone to landfills or maybe your recycling bin, maybe not. But this one I've had for probably 2 years now, at minimum 1 year, minimum like over a year for sure. The other part of health that I try to incorporate every single day is intentional movement. This is one habit that I could definitely improve currently. However, there are a few extenuating circumstances at this time. That being said, I do like to mix in different forms of movement through the week. So this is anything from reformer Pilates to strength training to walking to swimming to rollerblading and all the other things. So making movement a priority really helps energy move through the body, and I am more alert, more focused, more creative, and more able to do the habit consistently. And it's funny, it's like if you do workouts consistently, you have consistent energy, and it's almost like you need the energy to do the habit. I promise, just get started with a workout with something. 20 minutes, 10 minutes if that's all you have, okay? While my physical health is huge, especially during this busy season of my life, my mental and emotional health are also part of my well-being and our well-being. So for me, those mental and emotional habits look like maintaining a positive attitude and a growth mindset. And while I have you here, I do want to say that I did not create or form these habits overnight, because as I go through this list, I know sometimes people listen to the podcast and think, oh, well, Val, this all sounds great, but who has the time? Listen, these are examples of habits that I have formed over many months and some over many years. And they have evolved over time. They haven't looked the same. Like I said, my breakfast looks different every day. I didn't even used to eat breakfast when I first started this podcast. However, they are actually habitual for me now. The things that I'm saying are things that I don't even really have to think about as often because they're part of my lifestyle. I saw someone post recently on TikTok. They said it's not a healthy girl era. This is a lifestyle. And I was just like, yes, 100%. These are lifestyle choices. This is how I choose to live my life because I want to show up as the best version of myself. And yeah, today I'm feeling not so 100% the best version of myself, but I'm still going to show up because I did get a good night's sleep last night. I have been eating whole foods today, and I like this podcast. I actually get so much joy, and this really helps. I'm about to cry because I'm feeling emotional today. This helps me stay positive. This helps remind me of what I'm doing and why I'm here. And that I have a purpose, and that's part of that growth. And everything that I'm sharing with you, not just today, but on this podcast, it's things that I've either worked for myself or I've worked for the people that I've been able to help. And again, they're not formed immediately. Some of these took a lot of time. They took patience, and it's not perfect every single day. And I never want you to think that this is perfect. Here I am holding back some tears. However, these have all been really incredibly impactful to my life, to my business, to my relationships. And a positive and growth mindset is one of the mental and emotional health habits that I'm constantly working on daily, especially today. I'm so glad that this is the perfect example of what imperfection looks like. So my mindset is not perfect every day. My patience is tested. I'm feeling frustrated today. And it wasn't actually long ago that my mental health was really suffering, not today's like little blips, but I do sometimes feel the effects of those darker times in my life. And while I don't feel like I'm in the thick of it, today's an example of sometimes I feel negativity or scarcity or things that are not helpful to that growth that creep up on me now and again. And I'm sure we all feel that once in a while. And having that growth mindset means you can see the opportunity. It means that you believe that growth is possible through dedication, through action, through self-care, and through love. And it doesn't mean you don't have down days like I am right now, or sometimes you feel stuck. It doesn't mean that can't happen, because it can. It means that you pick yourself up and that you try again. It means that you give yourself the space to be upset, to be frustrated, to be angry, to kick a little, to scream a little if you need to do what you need to do, and know that this is just a moment. This is just a moment. This will pass. Even the good moments, those are moments too. They will pass. Another helpful mental and emotional health habit that I have developed is creating healthy boundaries. This one is huge. One of our earlier podcast episodes was titled 7 Things You Must Do When Creating Healthy Boundaries. And this might be one of the most difficult forms of self-care, but also one of the most important, because over the years, I have created boundaries around sleep, work, family, my schedule, my friends, my social media, and other habits, as well as how I allow people to speak to me or to treat me. And again, it's not something that's always perfect. I definitely work on these things weekly, if not daily. But when it comes to being busy and having boundaries around my schedule, this has been huge for my mental and emotional health. And with work, I am capped out at a certain amount of hours per week that I can be teaching. I do not take coaching calls on certain days or certain times of the day. Other examples include not teaching split shifts. My phone is always on airplane mode pretty much from 9 p.m. until about 6 or 7 a.m. So I don't wake up to a lot of notifications. That's been huge as well. And this kind of piggybacks off boundaries with scheduling, but part of that is with a habit of time blocking. I don't typically make to-do lists. I time block. That means that I have a very organized and yes, very color-coded calendar that has essentially my entire life on it, from my coaching calls to my teaching schedule to the time block for when I'm driving places, even for when my bills are due and when I have certain deadlines or certain reminders that are important. And I feel like I'm always looking at my weekly schedule or my week at a glance so that I can see where I'm at, I can see what I'm doing, I know, how much energy I need to put where, and anytime I'm creating my schedule or adding in appointments, I'm very careful to book certain things. So not only am I looking at where am I physically in the day, like what town am I in? Am I working from home? So I'm not driving around to all these different places, but I'm also looking at how my energy is spent. Am I with a lot of people that day? I don't book the podcast guest episodes on the same days that I'm teaching a huge block of classes. I try to batch things when I can so that if I'm running errands, it's all in the same vicinity. And really, that's part of productivity, but it does help me mentally and emotionally, so I'm not stressed out with needing to be somewhere at a certain time or driving somewhere during rush hour. The last mental and emotional healthy habit for busy people I want to share is taking guilt-free breaks. Let me emphasize that rest is not a reward. Rest is part of the process. In nature and in life, there are cycles. If we don't honor these cycles, especially for women, I find, then we risk coming out of alignment in our body, which can be very damaging to our health. It can create dis-ease. It can affect our projects, our energy, and so on. Schedule in breaks, schedule in vacation, schedule in time off, and not at the end when the projects are done, throughout, especially in those busy times. Make time for you, make time for your alone time if you need it, make time for the pleasures in your life, make time for your health, prioritize the things that keep your battery going, even if that is rest or quiet or whatever. The guilt might be there in the beginning. If you're anything like me, you probably feel that. But you can learn to let go when you start to see how powerful taking frequent breaks can be. I am a much better person when I'm getting that sleep. I'm a much better person when I'm firm with my boundaries. And I'm a much better person, friend, partner, leader, podcast host. I'm more organized in my life when I'm prioritizing these things, when I'm taking breaks. I've shared 8 incredible healthy habits for busy people, but how do we incorporate all of these into our lives? And the short answer is you don't. But allow me to explain. You don't incorporate all of them at once. I know I mentioned this before. This isn't an overnight switch. However, after listening to these 8 different habits and routines, notice which ones you are already doing. Can you continue these? Can you optimize these in any way? Can you bring maybe more focus and attention to one that you know that you can really do and you can really honor? Start there. Maybe you have an inclination to a specific habit that I shared that you aren't already doing. Great. What is a tiny action that you can take today or within the next 24 hours? And then again, maybe the next 24 hours after that, to start incorporating this into your life. Keep it small and keep it simple, and know that it's going to build. Know that experimentation is necessary when you're pulling from examples of what's worked for other people. I typically don't like to share lists of the best habits you should do. I am sharing today 8 things that I've prioritized that really support me in these busy seasons, but I'm doing them all the time. But I will say it is so much easier to build these types of habits in when you're not stressed with the busyness of life, and they support you so much in those busy times. So Don't wait to be busy to add these in. Do this as soon as you can. And I will say too, it's okay if you start small, because really through this experimentation, especially when we're pulling from what's worked from other people, you might need to time block the experiment. You're most definitely going to need to give yourself grace and give yourself patience through this process. Remember that it is a process. Remember that habit formation looks different for every person as well as for every habit. There is a unique process in forming a habit, just like you are unique. And as a healthy habit mentor, I've done the research and I've done a lot of experimentation as well for myself, as with being able to help other people with their own lifestyles and schedules and habits and goals. So if you feel called to work with me, if you feel called to get that extra support so that you can save more time and be less frustrated during your healthy habit transformation, please feel free to comment below or send me a DM on Instagram at @ValLevineLife. I'd love to support you where you're at. If you're watching the video, or if you can see the show notes of this podcast episode, you can find links of how we can work together.